Righto, tell the 8 chance. I'm out on Suffer, yes, Suffer the Chuffer, the StreetFighter V4, and I'm riding this back to back. So I've just ridden the Triumph Speed Triple RR. Oh yeah, she's got some power. That sounds really nice, yes. And now I'm riding this back to back, just so I can tell you about the differences between the two. The first difference straight away is look how far away my elbow is from my knee. My knees are nearly touching. Look, big comfort on this, all day comfort, room. Straight away, nice riding position. What's he doing? Just stick to your side, mate. So that's the first thing I noticed straight away, riding position, not even a competition. Even like if you were to get the RS, what, that crosswind is insane today. That's the first thing I noticed, the riding position, obviously. Now, you might compare it to the Speed Triple RS, which has the bar as well, but even that was a little bit cramped. I mean, a bit better, but I don't understand how a leader bike is so cramped for a bigger rider. And the thing about the Speed Triple RR is, if it fits you, you're going to have one of the best bikes out there. That is just amazing, that Speed Triple RR. Like, oh my god, I will get to comparing it with this StreetFighter in a sec, but it is an amazing bike if it fits you. But there have been people that are, you know, 6'2", complaining about the comfort and that. There have been people that, oh, it's great comfort, like all year motorcyclists. He thinks it's really nice and comfy for him, so it fits him, so that'll be awesome for him. But then I've heard like 5'7" females complain that it's uncomfortable. Okay, so I think at best it's going to be polarizing. So, you know, it's only going to fit a certain amount of people, and that's a big issue because that's Triumph's biggest bike. So if that's Triumph's biggest bike and it's only comfortable for a certain segment of the, you know, human population, that's a big problem. It's a big failure, because I had the DUCATI 660, okay? Oh yeah. Okay, the DUCATI 660 is a middleweight bike. It's not a leader bike, a middleweight bike, okay? So I've said before that I'm physically too big for that bike, as in I look stupid on it. I just look too big for it. But that had all day comfort. So even though I look stupid on it, so I look too big for it, I can easily ride a naked middleweight bike from Aprilia and have much more comfort than the 1 litre bike, the big boy bike from Triumph. That's an issue. And that's even the one with the bar as well. Like, that's a lot better, but still I felt a bit cramped when I sat on that one too. So I don't know why their bikes are just, the geometry is just not right. I've got to say, they just copy Aprilia DUCATI 660, a middleweight that has all day comfort, and it doesn't compromise for performance like handling, and you know, the DUCATI handles better than any leader bike. Like, that's 100% for sure. Just because it's smaller, it's middleweight, it's lighter, it's like 20 kilos lighter. And so there's been no compromise on the handling with that thing, yet a much more comfortable riding position. And I feel like they've just missed the mark, Triumph, because how does a middleweight have more comfort than a leader bike? To me, that just doesn't make sense. But aside from that comfort factor, that bike is amazing. I would say, like, the first thing I noticed when I got back on this is I had to put the earplugs in, right? This does sound amazing, but it is loud. You wouldn't even have to put the earplugs in with the Triumph, and if I was going to rate the sound of both of them, I think the Triumph has better induction noise. That triple induction noise is just wow, just delicious, just woof. Oh yeah, she's got some power. That sounds really nice. But the exhaust note, the Street Fighter is better. So if you wanted to do sound, that's how I'd rate the sound there of both of them. So when it comes to just the motor, if we're talking about how it feels to ride in urban traffic, they're both great for that. But I would say the Triumph is better for more commuting. It's just, even though the fueling is really good on this in street mode, the Street Fighter, like anyone could ride this. Like a granny could ride this in the, you know, in commuting mode or whatever, or should I say street mode. Anyone could ride it. You're not going to have any issues with fueling. It's nice and smooth. But the Triumph is just that little bit better there with that. It felt like it picked up a bit quicker too. Like one of the things with the Ducatis is if you have it in street mode, and I'm comparing street mode on both of them here, for example, the Ducati will take a while before the throttle takes effect. Now obviously you can go in racing mode and that changes everything and all that, that's fine. But if I'm just talking about riding on the street, you'll notice that the Ducati throttle sort of, it's not a delay, but it's just, well, it is, but it just, when you turn the throttle in street mode, yeah, it takes a little bit before the power comes on. Now that is a safety thing, so that if you go over a bump and you twist the throttle, you're not going to bloody go arse over tit there. And I like that. And of course you can always change it into sport mode, whatever, but I'm just talking about in the city. I think there's just a more linear, nicer response with the speed triple. It's just that little bit smoother, nicer to ride in the city, but both of them are like you can ride them in commute mode in the city. Now one thing I did notice is this thing here, as soon as you stop and you get into a little bit of traffic, and it doesn't have to be much, you will notice the heat on your leg. It's nothing too bad, but you will notice it, right? Once you're moving, it's not even an issue. Forget about it. But yes, when you're moving, I never felt any heat whatsoever with that speed triple. Like, it was nothing. Even when I had that little bit of traffic, which I'd noticed the heat on this bike, speed triple, no. Now what about ride quality? And this has got nothing to do with handling, this is just ride, like how good the ride quality is. Very good ride quality on both the bikes, really. For sports bikes, amazing. Now I rode the S, so I know what that's like. I tested out all the different modes on the S, the sports, the street and all that, and that will take up bumps, bigger bumps, a lot better than, say, for example, this, unless you have it set. If I have this set in plush mode, like I actually do now, this takes up the bumps just as well as the Street Fighter S. But the Street Fighter S can stay stiff and do that, or stay more sporty, like, and do that, and dynamically do it. But the problem with dynamic suspension like that is you have a different bike on every corner, so it's nice and stiff here because I'm going around a nice corner, but then I ride it on another corner that's bumpy and the suspension's soft because it's in dynamic mode. So I think the reality is you probably want it not in dynamic mode. take the comfort of the suspension, I think the Speed Triple R has more comfort, and I think it comes down to should I say? I think it comes down to it has a softer spring, whereas the Street Fighter has, you know, over 200 horsepower, a lot more braking force, a lot more, you know, power and torque to the rear end. You know, you're talking something like 28 more horsepower, or maybe a little bit more. Yeah, it's made stiff. That spring is stiff, and as plush as you can get the Street Fighter on both the S, I've ridden both, as plush as you can get it, it's not as plush as the Triumph, and I think that's down to the Triumph, which has the electronic suspension, just having that softer, slightly softer spring. But we're not talking about much difference there. Honestly, they are both really good when it comes to suspension comfort. So you're going to be happy with both of them for ride quality. Now handling, I think this is where the Street Fighter gets it, although I do prefer the Speed Triple just because the Street Fighter's on the nose, which makes it sort of much sharper steering on this. Like, you can tip it in, move around a lot easier on this, just because it feels a bit sharper. But I would say I like the Speed Triple because it's not so much on the nose, the Speed Triple, so it's a bit more laid, you know, chop it out. What I mean by that is it's, well, a bit more balanced really, but it feels chop it out compared to the Street Fighter, meaning it feels a bit more leaned back, more on the back wheel, so a lighter front end. Oh, I like that. Like, unlike the Street Fighter, I could feel that getting light then, and I like that bit of liveliness that it wanted to lift a little bit there. I prefer that because I come from a dirt bike background. But if you're just talking about nimbleness, how sharp it is, you know, turning wheel to wheel and all that sort of thing, I say the Street Fighter has it here. It's just a bit more precise and sharper turning and stuff like that. The Speed Triple RR would be great on sweeping bends. Like, I probably prefer that on the sweeping bends, but I mean, each to their own. Maybe some people are going to prefer the Speed Triple RR, which I do actually, but I think most people will sit on this and go on the Street Fighter and say, oh yeah, this is much. Oh yeah, that's nice. I don't think that squats down too much. We'll take her home now. So I've just been messing with the suspension again as usual. So I think handling, they're both great, no complaints. Bit better ride on the Speed Triple. Yeah. So what about the engine, the power and stuff like that? Well, I didn't get a chance to really give it to the Speed Triple RR, but it just feels so nice, that motor. That motor is just linear, pull the throttle and you just have nice power the whole way. But the V4 is just an absolute monster. Look, honestly, I think it's just going to be a personal preference thing. Of course, the top end, you're not going to compete with the V4 on the top end. It just has that, you know, that big rush of the top end here. The V4 is just a wow, big monster. Just, you're not going to complain with either of them for riding, you know, power. Like, more than enough on both of them, and yeah, I like both of them. Although I will say one thing about the Triumph, it is much smoother. Like, that motor is smoothness. it's just silky smooth. There's a little bit of vibe at a certain rev range, but we're talking minimal. It's not, you know, this motor here, if you listen to the Ducati when it's idling and that, it sounds very clattery. Like, if you ever listen now, sounds very clattery. I think it's a Ducati thing. Even worse if you have a dry clutch, right? But you know, it sounds clattery. There's a lot of clattering going on. I don't know what it is, valve chatter or whatever it is. I don't know. But that is not the case with the Triumph. Triumph is silky smooth, and it doesn't clatter. It doesn't have a clattery noise. It's just smoothness. And this clattery noise, I've noticed, like if you listen to onboard shots of MotoGP bikes, they sound like that too. But once you hit the throttle on the V4 here, like all that noise goes away. Like it just sounds nice. But yeah, it just feels a bit more refined, that motor, a bit more, well, what more can I say than smoother and silkier. So for looks and finish, I give that to the Triumph, the finish, because, you know, it has all carbon bits on it standard. Basically they're both the same in terms of build quality and finish, if you ask me. But the fact that for the same price as the standard Street Fighter, you get all the carbon bits and electronic suspension with the Speed Triple RR. I think there's no competition, bang for buck. You know, the Triumph has, you know, better fit and finish just because it has those carbon bits. Just, yeah, that's what puts it over the edge. Both of them are amazing build quality. I mean, one thing though, the ugliest tank cap in the world, at least the Triumph's one is decent there, but you know, all the bits, you know, carbon fibre bits on the side and shrouds and carbon fibre, you know, mudguard and that, all this stuff that would cost you thousands of dollars on the Ducati are all standard with the Triumph. So I've got to give it there to the Triumph. And looks are subjective, but if I was going to say which one looks better, I don't like the front end of the Street Fighter. This is one thing while I'm trying to get that little mini windscreen to try and break up the front end, and you know, all you see is this blob on top of the sort of V light that's on there. Look, this is how I put this with the Street Fighter, is it is that sexy girl. Oh, you know, she's got the beautiful banging body, and then you look at the head and you go, oh man, that needs a pillow. You can say the same for a guy too, whatever. That's how I feel the Street Fighter is. Sexy as from the light back, but the front end, not liking that beak thing. It's just, no, I don't like it. Whereas the Speed Triple RR is a thing of beauty the whole way through, and this is subjective, of course. Some people would prefer this, whatever, that's fine. But the only thing I would say about the Speed Triple RR about the looks is that stupid muffler on it is ugly as hell. Like, you know, they've made a beautiful bike. They've got a single swing arm, I mean a single-sided swing arm, alright? It's to show off the wheel, right? Nice wheel. And they got that big ugly muffler there. What are you doing? Like, seriously, they fixed that? I mean, you can get aftermarket exhaust, but just put something like Ducati or like the V2, little shotgun exhaust. Don't cover up that single-sided swing arm. It really is a crime to do that. So yeah, that's that. So at the end of the day, which one's the better bike? I think the brakes are very similar. I didn't notice anything. Oh, I think they're pretty similar spec too. I think the only difference is I think we've got 330mm discs on the Street Fighter, whereas the Triumph has 320mm. Which one's the better bike? Well, you're a winner if you could choose either of them. If you can get one of these bikes, you're going to have a winner. As long as you can fit the Triumph, with that caveat there, you need to test ride that to see if you fit that. I don't think anyone that's going to ride the Street Fighter is going to go, oh, it's not going to fit me, it's no good, it's uncomfortable. No, everybody's going to think the Street Fighter's comfortable. Also, that's the strangest thing, right? The Toronto 660 is a small bike, but no one's going to ride that and go it's uncomfortable, even if you're tall, even though you may look too big for it. So taking that aside, so I'll take away my bias that it doesn't fit me. Which one's better? Alright. Oh, I like the looks of, yeah, that's subjective, so I won't go there. Although I do like the Triumph's looks, apart from the muffler. I mean, but I do like the Street Fighter's look, apart from the headlight, I guess. Yeah, you know, I don't want to sit on the fence, but I don't have any loyalties to either of these brands. I'm not a DUCATista, I'm not a Triumphette or Triumpher, or whatever you want to call it, a Trumper. I'm not a Trumpster, a Trumpster. What's happening with Trump? He got raided, mate. What's going on? They're scared of Trump, aren't they? But anyway, I don't want to sit on the fence, but I do think 100% the Triumph is much better value. So I can imagine you get the Triumph, and especially like you're going to have to buy a V4S to match the base model Triumph RR, which, well, there's only one model of that. But yeah, in a perfect world where that speed triple fit me, I think I would like both. Like I couldn't choose. Like, I think if I hadn't ridden the Street Fighter, like if I didn't own this bike, I would choose the speed triple, just because you know, it's better bang for buck and that. But really, you know, money no object. Let's just pretend. I think I like that style better, like that sort of retro sort of sports bike, rather than, you know, this sort of, you know, Panigale with the fairing taken off sort of thing. Yeah, I think that'll get me over the line, the looks of the speed triple, but it doesn't fit me, so it's a mute point. And I think most people are going to be better off with the Street Fighter. And I've got to tell you now, when it comes to, like, I got a Royal Enfield Classic 500 and I get a lot of looks with that, a lot of attention, like, you know, mostly old dudes coming up to me. Now you get a lot of attention with the Street Fighter too, but the demographic of the people that are giving you the looks, like I pulled up to a P-plater, which is a teenager driver, the other day, and she was looking at the bike with love in her eyes. She was tripping, she was drooling, moist, drooling, I'm talking about there. But anyway, the look of love was in her eyes, and of course that was for me. It wasn't because of the bike, but no, you get it. Like, you're going to get attention either way. I'm not sure the Triple R, I'm sure it gets a lot of attention, but I think it's going to be more towards the older dudes attention rather than the young female attention, which you get with the Ducati. It's undeniable, you get that with the Ducati. So there's something for you. No other bike reviewer covers there, but anyway, catch you in the next one, guys. Tally ho.